Sheffield Wednesday, a problem club at the moment, both on and off the field. They've won 1 in 17. They're on -4 points and they prop up the championship right now. They need new ownership. And certainly no shortage of those wanting to come forward in an attempt to get their hands on the football club. And now former Newcastle owner Mike Ashley has tabled an official bid to buy Sheffield Wednesday. Despite his reputation, Simon, of being the devil incarnate amongst Newcastle fans, could Sheffield Wednesday do a lot worse?
Yeah, I mean, of course they could. They could get Delphine Chansiri back in the mix. With Mike Ashley, I mean, I'm amazed that Mike would want to be anywhere near it again after the miserable experience he had at Newcastle. He didn't exactly enjoy himself, did he, from day one to whenever he left?
Yeah.
4,000 days later. So I'm surprised he wants to index himself to it. He's obviously thrown in an offer that won't be acceptable because of the challenges around Delphine Chansiri's position of wanting or the Football League rules that reward bad ownership by paying them 25p in the pound. And so I don't think Mike Ashley will get it.
You don't?
No, I don't think he will unless he changes his mind and starts to bid up higher. I think because I spoke to you about it. I put together a consortium of people, very well-heeled people, proved up £50 million to have a look at Sheffield Wednesday. It's a club that I've always advocated for because I think it's a big club waiting to happen again if it had proper management and proper ownership and proper direction and proper disciplines around building it back as a football club. But it is massively challenged. The reasons why I've decided not to go forward with it is because I don't like the idea of rewarding Chansiri by having to pay huge parts of the money that he has to get to avoid the Football League regulations of being sanctioned again. Because if you don't pay the 25p in the pound, then ultimately you'll get another 15-point penalty. I would be quite happy to have the ownership of Sheffield Wednesday and have a 15-point penalty in this season because it doesn't make any difference. You're going to get relegated and not have it next year. And I think that's probably part of Mike Ashley's thinking because at 20 million quid, you can't buy Sheffield Wednesday with the debt that's available to Chansiri to meet the 25p in a pound rule alongside the purchase of the stadium and what goes with that. So
how much would you need?
I always felt when it first came on the market, it was nickable. I'm sorry that sounds like an unpleasant terminology, but if you're going to buy a football club, what you want to buy it is the best possible way you can, so the investment you put into it is not into the ownership going out the door and rewarding their mistakes,
right?
But you want to put it into the football club going forward. If you look at Sheffield Wednesday, whilst it's a much bigger club in my view than Sheffield United, its footprint digitally is smaller than Sheffield United because it hasn't been in the Premier League for 25 years. The stadium itself is falling apart, hasn't had a lick of paint in 20 years. So it's a really long task. And it's a really big task to get them back out of League One, to get them back up the pyramid and to get them going again. It'll require a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of direction, a lot of money. And for me, I owned a football club once. I'm not racing to go and do that again. It wasn't the most enjoyable of experiences. But I do think that Sheffield Wednesday will be fine. They'll get an ownership model. And who it's going to be, I don't know. Whether it'll be Ashley. Ashley feels like to me he's thrown a fiver on the table and said, call me if you need me. Which is the way you buy a football club, quite frankly. And if you're going to buy a distressed asset, whether you like it or not, Sheffield Wednesday is in distress. Right? It's in distress. It has no playing squad, has no facilities that are up to date, has no real training ground, has a stadium that's falling apart. So it's going to need some real significant investment into it. And I find it difficult to get in a bidding war with people over a distressed asset. Because to my mind, that makes it, you're cutting one another's throats to get a football club and rewarding Chansiri by having to pay him 25p a pound.
So because of that, you've now taken a step back.
Because of that,
and your consortium has taken a step
the people
back.
that I was doing it with, it was the person that I was doing it with. I'm not going to name him, but it featured in the Sunday Times article. He's one of my best friends, Sheffield lad, got plenty of money, and I was very keen to do it initially. And then my motivation got lost in it in terms of looking at the structure of it. The administrator's doing a good job. They'll fight, and the administrator's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, so he's got the best interests of the football club in mind. His fees are whatever they are, but I think he'll produce the best outcomes. I think Sheffield Wednesday will have 4 or 5 legitimate buyers. When I start seeing people like Keith Harris in the mix, it irritates me because these are the sort of people that get into a deal, talk them up, and never actually do them. But Sheffield Wednesday will come out of administration. How it comes out and whether the Football League could be challenged, this 15-point penalty, it could be put in this season. So Chansiri could be squeezed. The fact he's brought in Nick DeMarco as his lawyer means he's trying to protect himself. And people are going to pay Chansiri. This model of having to pay 25p in a pound to protect the rest of the pyramid is flawed because you're rewarding, it's a safety net for bad owners. If you make a holics of it, and I know, the irony of it is I would love to have been on the other end of 25p in a pound because I got nothing when I walked out of Palace. I gave it to Parish and his mob for nothing.
What would you have got back then?
Well, I should have got, on that basis, I should have got 10 million quid, 12 million quid.
Right.
On the basis of that, I took a view, the football club needs to go forward, and I took a pill for my own mistakes. In this instance, the Football League rewards you. You make balls up of it, you ruin a football club, and we make sure you get 25p in a pound.
Yeah.
That money should be going to the well-being of the football club, but it doesn't.
Right.
So here we are now with a group of guys in there.
What chance is merger? Sheffield United's American owners made an inquiry into the sale of Sheffield Wednesday. Surely not.
Well, if I'm Sheffield United's owners, I'd want to make sure I squash that one, because that just shows a complete lack of awareness of the nature of the beast.
Right.
How could you even consider indexing your name to the idea that Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United can merge? That's like suggesting on a smaller scale, why don't we merge Rangers and Celtic? The very value of the fabric of football is about unique identity.
Right. Who's going to get Sheffield Wednesday?
No idea. There's serious guys in there.
Who's actually going to get it?
I would doubt it. Because Mike is wild. First of all, I don't know why he'd want it, right? Because he didn't have a great time at Newcastle, and building up a League One football club you don't want it in League One. You want it at least knocking on the door of the Championship. So you're going to need 100 million quid to be able to deal with the stadium, to deal with the training ground, to be able to reboot the football club and get it somewhere close to the Premier League. Because Mike Ashley's only investment in Sheffield Wednesday will be an opportunity for his sports brand or to flip it. Not because he loves Sheffield Wednesday. So it's hard yards to do that. That doesn't mean it's not not achievable, but it's hard yards to do it. It'll take 4 or 5 years to get Sheffield Wednesday really firing again. And Mike Ashley, 61 years of age, he's got plenty of money. It's not a problem for him. But he didn't deploy it at Newcastle. So he's not going to deploy it at Sheffield Wednesday.
Right.
So with respect to Mike and his team, he seems to like to be indexed to deals. He liked being indexed to the Derby deal, or they use him like they used to use the Chinese Super League or the Saudi Pro League, which is, let's use it as a stalking horse.
Right.
Because ultimately, why would Mike Ashley, after having Newcastle and all the crap that he put up with there, want to go again at Sheffield Wednesday?
If your consortium had got it, would Sheffield Wednesday fans have had to suffer you as chairman?
No. Because I think the person that really fronts a lot of the money should be the person that gets all the attention. I would have given them some intellectual capital around how to do it and how not to do it in equal measure.
Right. How do you put value in that?
Well, you put a value on it, because the one thing you can do if someone's made money and lost money, they're a good person to talk to because they know both ends of the spectrum.
Well said.